All right. Positive energy all the time. Always a pleasure to see you all. Salute to all the young brothers out there, all the elder brothers, all the beautiful sisters out there. It's always a pleasure. Rep your city, rep your city, rep your city, rep your city. To everybody on Facebook, I'm representing Chicago. Everybody on Twitch, everybody on Kick, and everybody on YouTube. I am representing Chicago, Illinois. We got Buffalo, New York in the building, XYZ doing big things. We got LA in the building, one of my favorite cities in the world. We got New Jersey in the house doing it big. Rep your city, rep your city. We got Richmond in the building, California. What's up, Stefan? Always a pleasure, bro. I hope y'all staying positive, right? Let's get it going. Rep your city. I'm going to take a little Shilajit. I always try to put y'all up on a little. I'm going to take a little Shilajit. All you older brothers, get you some Shilajit. There's a lot of different brands. This one I'm using is Himalayan Shilajit. Get you some Shilajit, right? All right. And let's see how it is. And get you some minerals into your body, okay? All right. All right, brothers, sisters too. Brothers, all right, get you some Shilajit, you take out. Shilajit. Shilagit. Shilajit. Okay. There's a couple brands you could get. Do your investigation, get whatever brand you think is good for you. It's real thick. It takes a little while to get it off. When you get up in the morning, if you're not stiff in the morning, at least 2 or 3 times a week, maybe 4. If you're not stiff, brothers, men, if you're not stiff in the morning when you wake up, you got issues. You don't have to panic, but you have to do certain things to make sure that's right. Your circulation your circulation is down and things like that. So yeah, you got to work on that, okay? All right, if you're not stiff in the morning. So if you want to hear about that type of information, get your sex drive up, your testosterone up, follow me on at Vegan Intel. So make sure, brothers, you subscribe to at Vegan Intel so I can keep you up on that, so you can keep your cholesterol down, keep your testosterone up. Right? You have to put in certain things to keep your testosterone up and to produce liquid. You have to have a good circulation. And if it's not good, don't panic. You can repair it. Right? But you have to have moisture and you have to have good circulation. Okay? But you can't do it. I'm drinking some faux tea. That's spelled F-O-T-I. So that is a plant from Asia. I'll give you a little information. I'm mostly doing this on Vegan Intel, but I don't mind helping you out. So I'm drinking some faux tea. All right. So check that out too. Okay. I'm not giving health advice for YouTube, just to know. And for the ladies, is Don Coy. Don Coy. Anyway, follow me on Vegan Intel so you can keep up with what you need to do to keep your health up the best you can. Okay? YouTube.com/@Vegan Intel. So today, rep your city, everybody, as you come in. We're going to be talking about a situation, Somalian issue I have with the Somalian situation in Minneapolis and in Minnesota. I have a serious issue with immigration. The desperation for cheap labor is putting us all at risk. And the way they're doing immigration is foul. The Democratic Party is between a rock and a hard place because the Republican Party has a large European support, and because the Democrats don't really, the Democrats have a tendency to have to target groups. And so typically when you hear people criticize the Democratic Party, their criticism is misguided because they're supposed to know that the typical white Americans are Republicans, which forces the Democrats to have to run on social issues. They have to run on LGBTQ issues, so like that, because they can't win with the white vote. And a lot of white Americans don't want to admit that, so they play stupid like, oh, the Democrats. But they know that the Democrats are in a bad situation to get votes because the Republican Party is mostly white. So this is why you see the Democrats be supporting a lot of strange, different things. They have to. Where are they going to get the votes from? So the Democrats got to try to get the minority vote. They got to try to pander to immigrants. They got to try to get them in and get them legal so they can vote, and pander to Somalians and pander to Asians and pander to Hispanics in order to compete with the white Republican vote. There, I said it. Something most people don't want to be honest. That's what immigration is all about with the Democratic Party. Where else are they going to get votes from? But the problem is because the Democrats don't really work on the economy, when the immigrants come, they like to vote Republican because everybody wants some money. And the Republicans represent many. So it ends up backfiring on the Democrats because everybody wants money. Basically. And so they want money and they need cheap labor. So they'll let anybody in the country. Here is the problem. First thing, let's start with the pestilence. If you don't slow down with immigration and do a thorough job, first off, you're going to end up with certain invasive species coming into the country hidden in luggage and clothes. So you're going to end up with some kind of moth or some type of hornet or some type of bug that is going to destroy crops or make people sick. That's the first problem. That if you don't vet these people and slow down so you can really check, they're going to bring invasive species into the country. That's what's going to happen. It's already been happening. That's how that hornet got over here. Right? So you're going to end up with an invasive species crisis that we might be close to. The United States invasive species crisis. This is the lanternfly. This is a problem. Okay? The Burmese python. That is a problem. The zebra mussels. That is a problem. Once again, the spotted lanternflies. These species are a problem. The Joro spider, another problem. The Asian giant hornets, that is a problem. Could they wipe out the bee population? The European starlings, a problem. The Great Lakes lampreys, a problem. Okay? That's the first thing. A problem. The second thing we've seen with COVID, where the COVID outbreak happened in China, they didn't shut the borders quick enough. A bunch of people went to Europe. America didn't shut down travel. People came from Europe to America. Bow, COVID. Here in Chicago, a black woman got off a cruise ship, went to work at a nursing home, and a lot of people at that nursing home passed away. Why? Because she brought COVID with her from her trip. And this is why COVID was so deadly, because it was foreign. just like the Spanish flu did back in the day, wiped out a lot of people. So the desperation for cheap labor and the lack of professionalism when it comes to immigration is very deadly. And we won't even talk about sexually transmitted diseases is a problem. Now, I lived in Hawaii, and for those that don't know, you think Hawaii, you always think of vacation, but Hawaii is a military base. All Hawaii is military, disguised as vacation. But Hawaii represents total protection of the U.S. on the West Coast to make sure that Japanese or nobody can come across the ocean and attack the United States like the Japanese did attack California back in the day. And I got a lot of brethren I had over there that was in the U.S. military, and they would deploy out to different places. And I had a Jamaican brethren, Rank and Screw. Shout out to Rank and Screw, wherever you at in the world, brother. When they deployed to the Philippines had a sexually transmitted disease that was so deadly that they tested all the soldiers before you could get back on the ship. And if you had that sexually transmitted disease, they left you in the Philippines at a military medical facility because it was foreign to the U.S. and they didn't want you to bring that back to the U.S. I had a friend in L.A., and he used to go with me vending and stuff, and we had went up to Ventura to do a show. That's north of L.A. And he wasn't feeling well. He was having some problems. So before we came back, he went to the clinic. I took him to the clinic early Monday morning so he could see a doctor, whatever. Then we would shoot back down to L.A. And so when he went to the clinic, they examined him. And when they came back, they came back with masks, and they told him, you got an STD from this location. That was deep. They told him, you have a STD from Los Angeles, California, between this street and this street and this street and that street. I kid you not. They said everybody don't have this. And this is only coming from one location in South Central LA. He was terrified. They told him, you gotta look. They told him this is some deep. They say, you gotta give us your wife's phone number. Oh, we gotta call the police. He said, what? We gotta notify your wife because this is highly contagious. And she has to go to a clinic. So, it was a bad ride back to LA because they called his wife and told her he got this particular STD that is highly contagious and it's only in a few places, and he got to take this specific medicine, and you have to go to a clinic and get this specific medicine. And they contacted the CDC. Oh, my soul, tripped me out. That was the first time I realized, well, I kind of knew, but that was because I had been in Hawaii already. So I kind of knew about that because like I said, I know brethren that was getting on those ships, and they was telling me that it's stuff that you catch out there in the South Pacific, that if you catch it, you just pretty much, your life is over. It can't be cured. But I didn't know about that in Los Angeles. So I'm saying all that to say that if just anybody coming to the country, a child could come and go to school and cough on everybody, and they can get a type of influenza that your system is not used to. Or a woman could come and a man could have a relationship with her and get a certain type of disease that's not over here. Or an invasive species could be in your luggage and could get loose and destroy peach crops or destroy all the broccoli or this, you know what I'm saying? It's so like immigration is dangerous because there's different species and there's different sicknesses that they got over there, and their body built up an immune system to it that you don't have. Like when all of them people came up from Venezuela, we had a measles outbreak with the children. But Venezuela has a measles problem. Seriously. Then you got lifestyle. You can't bring a bunch of people into the country that's got a lifestyle that's not our lifestyle. So you have to bring a few in at a time. I'm not saying don't have immigration, but I'm saying they got to acclimate. They got to adjust to our system. So you have to bring in a few at a time. You just can't bring in no millions of Somalians like that at one time. Because the Somalians got like one of the worst lifestyles in Africa. But I'm not trying to disrespect them, it's just a fact. It's dirty in Somalia. That just it's dirty in Somalia. This is Somalia. You see all that trash? They just throw it anywhere. In Somalia, they just use the restroom anywhere. For real. Yeah. They just use the restroom anywhere. All outside, all off the road, on side of the road, out in the middle of the street. Number one and number two. Right outside. Real talk. Real talk. So it's like if you bring a few Somalians at a time, then they have to use the restroom, they have to wash their hands, they have to acclimate and adjust to our society. But if you bring in a whole bunch of them and let them go to Minnesota like that and let them go to Minneapolis like that, it could cause a pandemic and it'll just ruin the society. Exhibit A.
I've seen that my former home state of Minnesota is currently in the news due to Trump and the Somalian issue. I worked at a major food production facility that supplies the United States and Canada with food. I watched as they brought Somalians in, and they began to urinate and defecate wherever they please within this food production facility plant. We had to put up signs explaining how to use the bathroom correctly, but yet it was never corrected. I seen as grown men wash their genitals within the sinks, made homemade bidets, from the garbage in the break rooms, and then brought in a roach infestation to the plant. Once again, I will tell you this is a major food production facility and cannot shut down for anything.
They was just using the restroom anywhere in the plant. They had to put up signs to teach them how to use the restroom. He left and went to another state to work. He left and went to another state to work. Real talk. In a food processing plant, they was just urinating and defecating wherever in the plant. And the plant can't shut down. And you wonder why so many recalls, more recalls than ever before on our food, because a lot of this got to do with not cleaning the facilities and hiring people that don't live according to our standards and don't care and really don't eat the food we eat and really don't care. And you're bringing in people from a dirty place with low standards and stuff. This is why a lot of these products, you have to be careful if you buy them, because if you buy products that's put together in India, another place, you'll be surprised how they're making products in India. You would be surprised. In India, you know how they do the food. They're not gonna do the food like we do it over here. And you got them over there making products and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Handling the shrimps and everything. You feel me? And you buying this food from these foreign countries. And man, let me tell you something. You have no idea. I mean, not at all. How bad it is. Where they processing a lot of our food, man. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to scare y'all or nothing. But I'm just got to keep it real. I got to do a service to the community, and I'm not trying to do no type of racism or no type of immigrant bashing or nothing like that. I'm just bringing you the real news. You know, if you're buying products that's being put together in India, you know, they don't have the best reputation for, you know, processing and handling your food products or toilet paper or anything like that. Like, the conditions are not up to U.S. standards. You know what I'm saying? You're dealing with lower standards. Basically, when you have to get things from these type of places, you know? I mean, that's just what it is. You know, you're dealing with low standards. Basically. And so this is one of the problems with immigration. The way they're doing it, it's just not cool because they're not vetting anybody. They're not vetting anyone. Not only are they not vetting the people, they not really checking the product. So you go get some products that's put together here. They all on the flow. They all on the flow. No hairnets on, no mask, nothing. This food, they process this food and you got to eat it. And then you bring in like immigrants from places that aren't clean and they don't have the practices that we have. So it's like it's got to be more vetting of these type of situations. You just can't bring in people from just anywhere. You know what I'm saying? You just can't do that. You can't just bring people in from anywhere and then they're in these facilities or dealing with these situations that we're dealing with food and things like that, working at factories and stuff like that. Like people have got to be vetted. You just can't bring them in and have them working in hospitals. And, you know, this doesn't make any sense the way America's beginning to function. What are we doing? Yeah, heavy lead contamination as well, especially in turmeric and a lot of products. I have to go through a lot with a lot of products I consume. I have to go through a lot. I'm trying to buy everything in glass. The containers are contaminated. But the actual people that's taking care of the food, they be coming from conditions like in India. India is dirty and a lot. Man, India is pretty bad. India is pretty bad. Seriously. And Somalia, Somalia is still primitive, a lot of it. So as you're trying to, come out and come more into society, you mix it, uh, you know, it's just not a good mix. You know, Somalia, doesn't have good trash disposal, you know, and stuff like that. Africa is disease ridden, just full of disease and sickness. You know what I'm saying? In in Africa. You know, these are third world countries, so it's not like I'm looking down at the people because they can only live according to their society. I'm just saying the government is foul for mixing the two societies together and putting everybody's health at risk. You just can't let people just run across the country. Yeah, and look at Subway. That's why I don't eat at Subway. Look at Subway. Subway don't even look clean. The way that food just be sitting out there like that. It don't even look clean. I ain't lying. Like I said, look at India. Look at Somalia. Look at that. And it's like they don't have the same standards. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the same living standards like that. And so when you don't bring people in and vet them and take time for them to adapt, you ruin your society. It's just like if I got a house and I got an auntie and she ain't really that clean. She got, let's say she got 4 children, and I got a house and I got a wife and 2 children. And she say, "Can I help her with some of the children?" My thing would be I would have to integrate them in. So I would only want one at a time. So I'd be like, "Auntie, I'll help you with 2 of them, but I can't take them both at the same time. Let me take one, because when I take one and it's 4 of us, that one is going to start emulating what the 4 of us is doing. So that one is going to acclimate and change. That one is not going to act the way they act at her house. That one is going to adapt into how we live it. But if I take 2, 3, or 4, they're going to bring that into my house. And it's going to be hard to get them to change because they emulating each other. And Auntie nasty. And now I got 2 nasty kids or 4 nasty kids. They going to offset our whole lifestyle. My mother had a friend that lived kind of, and it was a friend, and the lady was on welfare and stuff like that. And my mom was a friend there and help her go to school, help her get a job in the government and stuff like that. But she was still a project lady, and she passed away. And my mother took in her daughter. And her daughter was like younger than me, like 5 years younger than me, or 7 years younger. She was a little girl and we was grown. But because of the lifestyle of the lady, my mother never couldn't fix the daughter because my mother was getting older. My mother got to work every day, and my mother couldn't watch her. So she would do stuff like get food and hide it between the mattresses, right? And my mother got older. The lady, she grew up. She went to school. She was way overweight, but she never acclimated to our lifestyle because she was just there with my mother and my father. Me and my sister was gone. So she didn't have me and my sister there all the time for her to try to function how we was functioning. So when I went to take care of my father when he was sick, I had to tell my sister she got to get out. I had to put the lady out. And when I put the lady out and I went in the room that was my old room, you should have seen it, man. It was nasty. It was dirty. We never had roaches before. She didn't have roaches, but she had bed bugs in there. And I had to go and like kill all them bed bugs. And if you know anything about bed bugs, they'll get in the vents and they'll go to other rooms. And I had to kill all them bed bugs and all of that stuff. But I put down that dementia, whatever you call earth on the ground. And if they crawl in that, it'll kill them. And then it was summertime, so I shut all the windows and put a space heater in there. And I put a plastic over the mattress and I drove the heat up to 106 degrees in there. It killed them all. I did each room at a time and I killed them. You know what I'm saying? I killed them by suffocating them and locking the room down in the summertime when it's a 95, 100 outside and putting a space heater in there, let it run, had the mattresses zipped inside of plastic so it just gets so hot that it killed them, the eggs and everything. And then they gonna try to run, but I had the bed surrounded with that earth. So if they crawl through that, it's gonna kill them. So there's no way to escape. I had that earth by the vents. I had that powder by the closets. So there's no way they can get out the room without walking through that powder. But I had to do that room and I had to do the back room because they had already went through the vents or whatever. But I killed them though. Everybody said I couldn't do it. I killed them. I killed them all in about a week. I killed them. But my point is, she came from a dirty environment and she brought that environment into a very clean home that had always been really clean and stuff. And it was nothing nobody could do because me and my sister wasn't there. We wasn't the same age group. We was already off to college, off to here, off to there. So she was just there with my parents, older parents, just really kind of just running over them. If you ask me, I didn't like her because I felt like she was disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? So when I moved in to take care of my father, I was like, you got to get out. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where you gonna go, but you got to get the hell out of here. Baby, bye. So I'm saying all that to say that, America got to start bringing immigrants in more slower. You can bring them in, but you just can't bring in no million Venezuelans like that. You have to bring in immigrants slow. You could bring them in, but you have to bring them in slow. And if it was me, I would bring different ones in. So if I wanted to bring in 100,000, I wouldn't bring 100,000 from just one place. I bring 30,000 from here, 30,000 from there. I wouldn't bring no 100,000 from one place and let them come in and change the lifestyle. Because when the Venezuelans came and they was in Chicago, they was into knives. They was into knife. A lot of people was knife attack, not a lot, but it was a threat of knife attacks because that's how they was functioning in Venezuela. But the one thing that protected us from the Venezuelans is Chicago's a little gangster and Chicago get cold. And so a lot of them left because it's just too cold. It's too cold. They're not going to stay here. They'll go to Southern Illinois or something. They'll leave. It's too cold. They'll start having the flu and pneumonia up here. So when they first came, it was a whole bunch of them. But after about a few months, they was gone. It wasn't that many. It's not as many here as came here. I guarantee you the same thing in New York. They ain't going to be able to stay up there this winter. If we have a serious winter that we haven't had in a while, but if we have a serious winter, It ain't gonna be no Venezuelans in New York, Chicago, nowhere north. They're gonna be gone, or they're gonna be sick. A lot of them will pass away from the flu. They can't fight no Chicago, no New York flu. They bodies ain't acclimated either. So the same way they'll come into the environment and change the environment also will hurt them too. The environment could hurt them too. So this desperation for cheap labor, you know, that ain't gonna get it. And since America been uh, accepting all this cheap labor, the recalls is ridiculous. Seriously. The recalls are ridiculous. Seriously. All because America's trying to do too much. They trying to do too much, and they bringing in too many people that ain't doing a good job. Look, in 2025, the U.S. saw a significant surge in recalls, with the Consumer Product Safety Commission exceeding 2024's record by September. They passed 2024, reaching 376 recalls and warnings. Automotive recalls were also high, with nearly 19.3 million vehicles recalled by Q3, led by Ford, while major consumer products recall, especially in Q1 and Q3, involved millions of units across categories like fitness and electronics, with risk of burns, falls, and fires. You see what I'm saying? Where, you know, America, they got sloppy. As of early December 2025, there have been at least 30 U.S. Department of Agriculture food recalls and an estimated total of over 100 U.S. Food and Drug Administration food recalls in 2025. This combined number is likely several hundred recalls for the entire year across both agencies, consistent with typical annual figures. And it's just because they trying to do too much and they don't have professional people uh, dealing with the food. They don't. They just got anybody over in this country handling our food, handling everything going on, and they also buying the food from just anywhere, just to meet demands. And you don't know where it came from, you don't know nothing about the processing or nothing. And customer service in America is at all-time high because they got too many people here that's not U.S. citizens that's just treating everything like a third world country. The professionalism in America has fallen to the point this is what's going on at the food processing places. Listen to this.
I've seen that my former home state of Minnesota is currently in the news due to Trump and the Somalian issue. I worked at a major food production facility that supplies the United States and Canada with food. I watched as they brought Somalians in, and they began to urinate and defecate wherever they pleased within this food production facility plant. We had to put up signs explaining how to use the bathroom correctly, but yet it was never corrected. I seen as grown men wash their genitals within the sinks, made homemade bidets from the garbage in the break rooms, and then brought in a roach infestation to the plant. Once again, I will tell you this is a major food production facility and cannot shut down for anything.
Come on, man. How much of that food did we eat? How much of that food did your children, grandchildren eat? Your wife, your daughters, your mother and father, your auntie. You know they ain't washing their hands. Make it make some sense. This was just a public service announcement. I don't know what to tell you, but I know some major changes got to happen because we looking at eventually some type of outbreak. And because we live over here and people from other places, we don't necessarily have what it is to fight foreign viruses. And also our food and everything can end up contaminated because they're not hiring people that's practicing the best cleanliness and not living according to United States standards. And this is what happens. And this is how you bring too many people in, the neighborhood begin to look different and everything. Everything. Because you bring people in and the standards ain't the same. You know what I'm saying? The standards ain't the same. And it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. Okay? You just bring in too many people. Too many. At one time. I'm not against immigration, but you have to bring people in a few at a time so that you could change everything. And then if you bring people in from a place that's really got a lot of terrorism, I don't see where that makes a lot of sense. And I don't know why the government don't see that they're going to definitely bring that here. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. It's impossible for it not to be here. And law enforcement is not prepared for it. And now billions of dollars have went into that type of thing. Billions of taxpayer dollars is gone. And A lot of people's lifestyle probably didn't change. This is what you end up with. You bring that to here. I don't know why they don't understand that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why. That is not the place to bring in immigrants from. It's just not. You don't bring immigrants in from terrorist countries where there's a bunch of terrorism because you ain't gonna be able to vet the people. This doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't. I don't know. But check this out again, and then we're gonna be out of here. What you think about this? Say something in the comment. Support the channel. What y'all think about this?
I've seen that my former home state of Minnesota is currently in the news due to Trump and the Somalian issue. I worked at a major food production facility that supplies the United States and Canada with food. I watched as they brought Somalians in, and they began to urinate and defecate wherever they please within this food production facility plant. We had to put up signs explaining how to use the bathroom correctly, but yet it was never corrected. I seen as grown men wash their genitals within the sinks, made homemade bidets from the garbage in the break rooms, and then brought in a roach infestation to the plant. Once again, I will tell you this is a major food production facility and cannot shut down for anything.
Brought a roach infestation in. How you bring somebody from a country like that and put them in somewhere like that without managers and stuff? And they defecate and urinate in the factories everywhere because people, they bring their culture with them. Basically, they bring their lifestyle, they bring their culture with them. That's what ruined LA. They let too many Mexicans come from poor places in Mexico. I'm not saying Mexicans don't know how to function, but the Mexicans don't like it. A lot of Mexicans don't like too many Mexicans coming because these Mexicans left Mexico to get away from a certain type of lifestyle, to upgrade their lifestyle. And then if you let a whole bunch of Mexicans, too many come that don't have to get into the lifestyle, then the Mexicans end up having to deal with the same thing they ran from. And they're not happy about that. Mexican Americans are not happy about turning California into what they left. That's why they left Mexico. And then you turn around and turn California into Mexico. So the Mexican Americans that been there a long time, they pissed. They don't like it. I don't know. They got to do something. You know, they're going to have to do something in this country because it's a mess. Thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks for watching. And we don't want to push hate. We're not pushing hate. We're not pushing hate. But we are pushing decency and start bringing the people in slower so that they can adapt. And let them slowly adapt. And also to make sure that you ain't bringing in Mexican mafias and cartels with them and bringing in Somali terrorists with them when you bring in the people. Like, this is common sense. You got to vet. You can't just get sloppy. And they brought all these people in and didn't watch them, and they saying it could be up to $8 billion gone. Man, that's ridiculous. Victory.